Hello there, YouTube. Thanks for stopping by the Pick Six Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, we have we have 4 requests, technically. Hit the like button on the video. Tell us your top coach in the NFL as well, non-Belichick version. Then hit the subscribe button and turn on alerts so you'll be notified when we go live. For instance, longtime aficionados of the Pick Six Podcast may not be surprised that the 1 o'clock show is actually starting at 1:09 p.m., such is life as I'm... Anyway, turn on alerts. You'll be notified when we go live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Thursday, July 14th. If you're listening to the audio version, if you're watching us live on YouTube at youtube.com/pick6, it is Wednesday, July 13th, and we are going to rank some coaches. And joining me to do so, longtime friend of the program, Cody Benjamin. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
Last time I was on, John Breach was guest hosting, and so I got a different flavor. I think he compared. I don't know if you listened to that one,
Nope.
but he thought you would listen just until you. He thought you would listen long enough to hear your own name and then exit. I think he compared it to what did he say? Oh, like your hosting is like going to the bar having some drinks, whereas hosting with John Breach is like going out to a nice restaurant having a glass of wine. I'd be interested to hear your reaction to that.
I mean, I would say it's more like hopping down to the street corner and politely sipping on some Mad Dog.
That would be yours.
No, that's Breaches. I'm sitting at a bar constantly, going
like banging
in directions. Yeah.
Okay, banging your head into the wall.
I mean, yesterday we were talking to banging. Yeah, sometimes sure. I mean, sometimes so drunk I just pass out face first. Who's to say? I mean, yesterday we were talking to Sully, and we knew we had to do edge rushers and interior defensive linemen, and had to do all of that in a show, and I still managed to get to 14 minutes being in
I listened to that.
Yeah, I was mad about. I really felt. I mean, okay,
you felt pressured by radio hosts. I had to write this for the Pick Six newsletter, and so I thought about writing about you having a beef with radio hosts putting you on the spot, and
I don't have beef with the they were just doing their job, but it's
right.
I sort of feel like if you're gonna, if you got a guest on a Monday afternoon and he's gonna come on in the summer, and you're gonna ask him about
preponderance of evidence.
Thank you, preponderance of evidence. Then throw him a bone. Heads up, hey, we might ask some questions about preponderance of evidence. There's not many. Cody, there are not many things I need to be prepped for.
I'll tell you what, that just speaks to maybe how intellectual they viewed you coming onto the program, thinking they could, who expects to bring someone on the radio 3 o'clock on a July afternoon and answer those kind of questions? They obviously thought Will Brinson was that guy.
They knew I was a former notary.
They knew.
My profile to just I have it in there, but I just wanted to say former notary.
So could you still technically notarize documents?
No, it is expired. So I'm a former.
Okay, so it'd be illegal.
Good, but I would get in trouble. I would
go to jail or something.
I think it's probably just a light fine. Maybe it's jail. I don't. It was a long time ago. And I say certified paralegal. I don't know that I was actually certified. I was a paralegal for 3 years and did some hardcore paralegaling.
Yeah, I feel like
Stu asked in the chat who we got, Nada or Debo. We have Nada. I think it's actually it's NATA, not NADA.
Yep,
and it could be DEBO or DEEBO, whatever.
And I don't know, because this is my first time with Nada. I don't know if I'll have the Philadelphia support with me here, because Debo's usually if there's an Eagles related thing, he's there. He's there for me. Is
that a precursor for where Nick Sirianni is almost black? It's I can't even there's not many things I can't handle, Cody. We're the Eagles coach, but the preponderance of evidence in the Eagles coach.
No, I don't think I went too crazy with him. So we'll get to that though.
Right. Well, everything good with you? I don't know why I'm making small talk when we could just.
Yes, I'm in a new town now. I'm closer to Minneapolis area. And I see you're a big fan.
Yeah, I like Minneapolis.
Summertime, a lot of lakes out here. I mean, there's things to do. And you, for the YouTube viewers, I mean, everyone can see you're now set up in a nice little, I don't know if I'd say mansion, but you've got stone fireplace. You've got
I'm trying to see if you can. It's weird that the space between my hair and the earphones doesn't fill in. Like it's like basically the white wall. I keep forgetting to hang pictures.
he's in a virtual backdrop for the listeners.
Yeah.
Right. He's in a
But
virtual
I'm in
backdrop.
a new room. I'm in a new room for podcasting purposes. I'm testing it out. I've got to figure out where the best lighting is. Got to put together a new chair. You know, just gotta feel some stuff out. So yeah. I don't want to hang a bunch of because the problem is when you do a backdrop for like a podcast, so you got me launched off on a different tangent now altogether. Good job by you. It happens. If you put together a backdrop for the podcast, like it doesn't look like if you're trying to do something specific for like video podcasting, it doesn't look like a normal decorative wall, which is fine. Like that doesn't matter per se. Like, I mean, obviously like when you've got these two lights, I got two like freaking big light. Like I can't imagine what people who walk by like.
So are you starting to sweat already because of the lights?
No. Do I look like I'm sweating?
No, I'm just saying. Like, are they that hot? Like,
no. I'm saying like if somebody walked by, like there's some people doing some work at the house next door, and like I think if they looked in here, they'd be like, "What the hell is going on? Like, is this guy?" Like, I mean, think about in front of this microphone.
They think you're broadcasting to like some cult online or something.
Yeah, and like it's even worse. Like if I'm not in the room because it's like, is this guy like a small porn studio out of his house? So what's going on here? Anyway, see, that's why you can't get too far.
Coaching rankings.
Yeah, see, that's right. Dom gets it. Oh, by the way, People's Choice Awards. Supposed to read this at the top of every show. And I say that because we do want y'all to vote. If you're listening or watching, it's very easy to do. And Ryan Wilson is going to get his tattoo now. I will also, if we win best.
I don't believe it.
No. He apparently the only holdup was I wouldn't Venmo him $300.
I thought the money was already delivered like 3 years ago.
I cannot believe that was. I thought it was waiting on breach. I would have Venmoed him months ago. I mean, if so, anyway, if you want to Venmo Wilson, we're actually still taking money. August sounds like August 15th, 16th or 17th is going to be the tattoo time. If you want to Venmo Wilson, I'm trying to find him. Okay, let's see. I might read this for every podcast for the rest of the time because the Venmo handle is so stupid. At Ryan-Wilson-37831. And I see a lot of y'all have actually sent Wilson money. If you want to send him $5, $1, $100, all right, send whatever you want, $5, $10, whatever it is. It will go to increase the quality of the tattoo, and anything left over, we will donate to a charity of Wilson's choosing. And if we win the best sports podcast, we have to win, not get to the finals. If we win, I will also get a tattoo of the listener's choosing. I don't really care what it is. And I've never planned on getting a tattoo at all, but I will get one if we win best sports podcast. To help me get a tattoo, to help us win, go to podcastawards.com/app/sign up. And then you scroll down to sports. You just go and pull down and hit pick 6 and you're done. You have to register sometimes if you haven't done it already. It takes like 60 seconds. Link is at the episode description. Help us out. You guys are always great. When we do live shows everywhere, you guys always show up and usually have the highest rated shows on HQ. So let's get us through to the final round. And then who knows? Maybe I'll get all inked up or something like that. Any hit? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask. Well, I guess it'd be the listener's choice of a tattoo for you. But does it matter on the location? Like, can we do a neck kind of a thing?
No, probably like shoulder or butt cheek or something.
Okay, so hidden.
Yeah, I don't want like a. I mean, it also depends on the tattoo, I guess. Like if it was like. Also, I don't really want. I don't like needles.
I'm just yeah.
No. I know. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it. I hadn't ever planned on. Like I'm not. I mean, spoiler alert, Cody. I'm not planning on winning. I'm not planning on winning this. That's why I went through the tattoo.
Well, just don't count out. Don't count yourself out.
If we win the best sports podcast of the year, like I feel like whatever I will get out of that will be worth the tattoo. So that's sort of where I'm
at. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I figure I'll get something out.
Yeah, you'll get a bonus. You might get I don't know.
I don't think I'll get a
Christmas,
bonus,
extra
but
Christmas gift, or
I feel like I'll just be able to like, hey, best sports podcast of the year. Give me some money. And then I'll use that money to put the tattoo on my shoulder. And then we'll get Breach a nipple ring or something. Probably already has 2 of them to be honest. Probably has 3 of them.
well, next time ask him to start shirtless.
I do like how like there's certain things I can throw out there. Cody's like, all right, let's get to the rankings now.
I mean, I'm more just looking at the clock, like, maybe the YouTube, I'm not looking at the comments right now. Like, would they prefer like you keep going like this for 10 minutes? They don't care.
I don't think they care that much.
Yeah, then it doesn't matter. You stay on the nipple rings. I don't,
Clip it. We have to make that a drop for when Cody comes on. Stay on the nipple ring. So anyway, we're getting to the coaches. I do like that you did a good job in terms of, we're not just going to do your top 10 coaches. We're going to do them. We are going to cover the top 11 technically. But you did a good job of breaking them out into tiers. And that's what you need to do, because like certain guys, like you just can't put, you just can't always rank XXXX. It needs to be tiered, like rankings. Now, granted, see, there you go. It's asked about your question. Would people prefer? We got
yes.
more nipple talk off season.
All right. For the producer's sake, for the company's sake, we have to move forward.
More nipple talk.
I can't believe this is the episode I'm on.
Yeah, I know. I would have guessed.
Keep it mild, right?
No. I would have guessed like if we were engaging, like if I was yelling more nipple talk, I would have guessed maybe like Breach. Like
sure.
I would not. Yeah, you would not have been the odds-on favorite. Anyway, to the okay. So you have the first tier is the bottom from 25 to 32, and it's stuck in the mud. These coaches aren't necessarily in ideal situations, but it's also hard to envision them elevating their squads. Cody's gone, so I'll just filibuster for a while. He'll be back in a second. Lovie Smith checks in at 32. Yeah, I'm fine with that. This is Lovie's third job. He has been to a Super Bowl, never won one. Obviously coached the Bears for a long time, then took over the Bucs, and now is taking over the Texans. Feels a lot like, I could have gone on for hours on Lovie Smith, by the way. It feels a lot like John Fox in that sense. Got to the big. Fox went to 2 Super Bowls and lost both of them, obviously. But it's like the triple retread is pretty hard to pull off. And I mean, I would even add like Lovie as a black coach. That is really, really rare, in particular to see, which speaks to the kind of coach that he is and the kind of leader that he is. And also he had the Illinois job too. I just have like the quote that he gave from Illinois when he was coming out of Illinois, he was like, yeah, the problem was we just couldn't get in our base defense because they just put too many receivers on the field. It's like, that's not what you want to hear in 2022. And so, yeah, like I think Lovie is, I don't think ranking him as there's another name on here I would actually rank below him, but I don't have a problem with him here at 32.
I would just say like an overarching preface for these is it's very hard in any rankings, and you've probably gone over it with positions, but even more so for coaches. It's very hard to completely separate these guys from their situations because it's not just a head coach. It's the staff you have around you. It's the talent you have. It's the front office leadership. It's the whole package. So we can only go off of so much when we're trying to rank the coaches. The thing I try to boil it down to is like if you're drafting coaches this year, look, Lovie Smith, like you said, he's been to a Super Bowl. He's a respected man and leader. But it feels like you could be describing, I know he has way more head coaching experience, but it feels like you could just be describing David Culley here, an older coach, respected in the locker room, but yet like there's the reputation, the setup around him is just not there. And so I think the last time Lovie Smith had a winning record as a head coach was 2012 when Jay Cutler was the Bears quarterback. And so and that's, including college, NFL. And so it just feels like another stopgap for the Texans. And, Lovie may be a good guy, good for him getting the job, but it's just not a very inspiring hire.
What it feels like is that they fired David Culley to go get Brian Flores.
Or somebody, yes.
Or somebody, and then like Brian Flores was suing the NFL and everybody, and they're like, maybe we won't do that. And so they were like, they panicked and were like, Like, I think if they could go back in time, they just wouldn't fire David Culley. But neither here nor there. I'm fine with Lovey at 32. Matt Eberflus, though, you have him, Matt Eberflus of the Bears. You have him at 31, but you also have a new kids on the block section. What did the old Eberflus do to you? Or is
Yeah,
this
he didn't.
being with the Bears?
It's part of that. So I think it's, in close calls here, you're leaning philosophically, at least I am, towards the offensive mind. In today's NFL, can we build around the quarterback? Can we build a staff that's going to create an offense that can win? Because, frankly, I mean, it's very probable that he'll keep the Bears competitive, feisty on defense. I mean, that's his job. They added some good pieces there, but and I know this isn't all on him, the supporting cast that they put around Justin Fields, but I just don't think you see the pedigree or the setup, and that's more on his surroundings, I think. But like, if you were asking which of those new head coaches would I rather have, I mean, I know you don't want to hold completely just his background against him being a defensive coach, but I'm just not as inspired. It's just it seems like a very dull, and no offense to him, like, good for him getting the job. If he proves me wrong, he's going to go up the rankings in 2023. But it's just like, if you're drafting coaches, he just doesn't feel like he'd be at the top of the list.
I'm really curious to see where the Bears and the Colts respectively end up in defensive rankings. The Colts were 8th at DVOA last year. The Bears were 13th. The Colts have been 7th the year before. The Bears have been 8th. So the Bears obviously, drop back a bit and then hire Eberflus. And now the Colts have Gus Bradley. I harp on this a lot, but I really am curious to see how that pans out. I think it'll say a lot about Eberflus. I don't have any expectation that the Bears will be any good. But that may not be that may not fall in Eberflus, but I would have thrown him in the new faces. Anyway, the other guys at the bottom, we got Dan Campbell, Arthur Smith, Matt Rule, Robert Saleh, Dennis Allen, and Josh McDaniels. If you had to pick one of those guys, and it's not Matt Rule because he should really be last, but I digress. If you had to pick one of those guys who might make a leap, so I can't do air quotes with this background, a leap, so to speak, up into like the top half of the rankings, who would be your choice? And it doesn't have to be like all of a sudden they did a magical job coaching. It could even be, the team just has a winning record and like you pointed out, could be the surroundings. I think the obvious choice is probably McDaniels.
Yeah, I mean, that is so tough because I feel like it would require multiple win improvement for some of these teams to be like. I mean, like Robert Saleh, like the foundational pieces have improved. It's just a matter of, like, is his defense going to improve in addition to Zach Wilson growing as a quarterback with all those pieces around him? Like Josh McDaniels, it feels like the easier answer because this is his second go around. Presumably he's learned some things from the last time. He's got some weapons there on offense. The problem is the division. I mean, I still think that, if the offensive line doesn't hold up, Derek Carr may not have the time to throw to Devontae Adams, 30 times in a game. And so, like, it's very possible that Josh McDaniels will be fine as a head coach, but the Raiders will finish last in that division. So
the Raiders can take a step back and like McDaniels could have a great year, it's
very tough. And so that's again why these guys are at the bottom. They're either total unknowns still, like Robert Saleh, Arthur Smith, Dan Campbell, or like McDaniels, they've been there. Dennis Allen, they've been there, and they flopped the first time. And so these are guys that we just need to see results. And Matt Rule, like, the Panthers really don't have, like, I think that their roster is actually underrated.
Yeah, I actually think it's not, like, the more I look at it, and maybe this is like a little bit of Stockholm syndrome, but the more I look at it, I'm like,
no, I think so. I mean, it's not fantastic, but like, I actually genuinely like the moves they made on the offensive line this offseason, which they botched that last year. I think it's a better offensive line. You've got DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey. On defense, there's even more pieces. But Matt Rule really needs.
Rule's got to be a better head coach though. Like he
does.
He doesn't do a lot of stuff very, very well, if we're being perfectly honest. Robert Saleh is a guy I think that could, like, if I mean, I know Zach Wilson's in the news for other reasons right now. But maybe he'll mature a little bit and get it. Maybe he'll mature and take a leap forward. And if he does, the Jets could. I think it's not that crazy. The Jets are second best team in that division. New kids on the block. we mentioned Eberflus before. These are the 4 other new hires. And again, I do just hate Matt Eberflus and the Bears. And the Bears do have a bad roster. But Kevin O'Connell, you list them. So basically, it's like, also Josh McDaniels is technically a new kid on the block, but
not his first time.
He's an old. He's not an
old.
He's not an actual NKOTB. Do you don't get that reference? Do you?
The acronym?
Like the band, New Kids on the Block?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do they go? Okay.
No, I have no idea. It's been a while since I listened to it. I think they changed it to NKOTB at one point.
Okay. Well,
at any rate, Kevin O'Connell, Nathaniel Hackett, Brian Dable, and Mike McDaniel. You got to put your eggs in one basket. Who are you going with?
Mike McDaniel, because he's first on that. I had him.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it's so there's 4 of them there, and Mike McDaniel was ranked first, and so he's at 21 there. And that, and again, all of these guys are like, they're Nathaniel Hackett. In his case, he's getting the quarterback right away. Mike McDaniel
too. I think you could make the case like
sure.
Like even if you don't like Kirk Cousins, I mean, obviously, no one's taking Kirk Cousins over Russell Wilson unless Russ just is suddenly bad and last year's the norm. But like Brian Dable and Mike McDaniel are both gonna have to figure out if they've got the guy, and it's their job to sort of make that drafted guy potentially the guy. Whereas Kevin O'Connell and Nathaniel Hackett are like, look, like it's kind of hard to screw this up.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel may or may not have his quarterback, but and he has only 1 year of coordinator experience, but he was kind of the right-hand man for Kyle Shanahan for a few years. Really spoke into like that run first system that they ran. He speaks the language. Like this guy has personality, but he also has just he's just very smart. I actually had a very random story I worked on one time for CBS. I was writing about John David Washington. So Denzel's son used to play running back in the NFL very briefly, went to Hollywood, and I talked to Mike McDaniel for the story because he coached John David back in the UFL, if you remember the UFL.
Yeah, not kidding.
And he was just super sharp, super funny, super nice guy. And so maybe there's a little bias seeping in from that interaction with him, but he just seemed way ahead of his, like he was at the time just a run game coordinator for Shanahan. Sounded way ahead, like he knew.
He had a plan.
He had a plan. And I think you could tell in that, how eager he was to talk about this forgotten NFL player. You could tell how much like people's and players' personalities, like he gelled with them. And so, I think he's going to be a really good fit in Miami. It's just a matter of can that offense with those weapons and with the quarterback, can they work in the long term?
Yeah, I'm sort of, I mean, I think I'm pretty bullish on all 4 of these guys. And look, they're all, all the new hires won't pan out. That's just sort of the reality of it, and for various reasons. But like Kevin O'Connell, coming from the McVay system, has had, he worked with Cousins in Washington, so you have to, there's some familiarity there. You would think that offense is going to be improved, even if the defense takes a step back, although the personnel should be a little better. Like I'm kind of high on the Vikings this year. Like I think they're a playoff caliber team.
They are perpetually like in the wild card space, just perpetually.
Yeah, like they are a wild card team.
Yep.
And if the breaks go their way, the offense is a little better, they're probably getting in. Hackett, I think like got too closely tied to Aaron Rodgers, maybe, where it's like, oh, they didn't get Rodgers, but they hired the Green Bay guy. Oops.
Also took Blake Bortles to the AFC Championship.
Exactly right. He had that 2017 Jaguars offense, so he's got success there. And then Dable, like the Bills offense was freaking awesome under Dable. And I think the one hang up with the Giants is, are they really interested in Daniel Jones being good? I don't think we know for sure. They may be fine if they stink this year. They get a high draft pick. And McDaniel, like I'm really high on him. He's bringing Shanahan schemes. You look at the running backs. They got like Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds.
Half the league plays running back for the Dolphins.
That's right. Exactly.
But yeah, with Dable, he feels
like you got Waddle. Like you think about Waddle and like Tyreek, like coming across in these, like if they're open, like Debo's open, like that's gonna be a problem for defenses. So if Tua's good, McDaniel has a real chance. All right, let's take a break and we'll dive into the top half of the coaching list coming up next.
This summer, Paramount Plus presents The Great Reality Escape.
Let's do it.
With new series.
It's time to celebrate! If you get thrown in, you gotta win.
and new seasons to escape to.
You just became my target.
I have never seen such savages.
With attitudes,
Give me a damn pizza!
competitions,
Survivor's ready!
and guilty pleasures you don't have to feel guilty about. Escape your everyday reality with our reality every day.
This is big.
Paramount Plus. Stream now.
All right, so the top half of Cody Benjamin's list, we start with the guys. Now, I don't get the sense that this is like the guys. This is like Jags, right? Just another guy.
Maybe. So this is like the majority of head coaches. This is like that class of quarterbacks that's like you're pretty happy with them. You might be looking for an upgrade, but you also think you could win with them. Like this is
The Kirk Cousins of quarterbacks? Or
it's the middle tier. It's the guys who are maybe proven, maybe respected, but they have yet to either win a title or prove that they can do that yet. So these were probably the toughest to rank because you've got like that elite crop. You've got the guys who are total unknowns. And then these are the guys where you're just not totally sure in some areas.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you that Cliff Kingsbury at 14 is kind of crazy.
Too high?
Although then I'm not looking at the guys below. I'm like, maybe it's not that.
That's what I mean. This is a tough, like these guys are all like, if you put them on each other's teams, are the results drastically different? But Cliff Kingsbury, I was gonna, coming into this, say I have no idea what to do with Cliff Kingsbury.
Kev So Fun in the chat is saying Mike Tomlin should be on here. Good news. It's actually a list of every head coach. And we haven't mentioned Mike Tomlin yet, which means that he is definitely in the top, I believe, 11. So this is 20 through 12. There's no chance in warm Hades, that Cody was going to put Mike Tomlin outside of the top 11. The vitriol and the blowback from Steelers fans would be robust.
I've gotten some. We were doing ranking rosters ahead of training camp. That'll get you some feedback.
People are. I don't know. I think it's like I forgot. I don't know. Like, what did I tweet? The Browns thing. Browns fans yelling at me, and then I tweeted like, Everyone complained the Bears didn't upgrade enough for Justin Fields, so they got in to kill Harry! Exclamation point! Everyone's like, I'm like, what? What do you matter? I'm like, just.
I think the lesson is like, just stay
tweet.
off social media. Yeah, just stay away.
I'm like, I'm not even like saying anything bad about
just
the Bears.
Go have lunch with somebody or something.
I know, just go, right? Like go, right. Anyway, I mean, it's like, it wasn't even a good tweet. Like, don't yell at me about Inkill. What are you caping up for Inkill Harry, man? Come on. So, Todd Bowles at 20, Ron Rivera at 19, Mike McCarthy at 18, and Mike McCarthy and Ron Rivera should be right there with each other. Although Mike McCarthy's won a Super Bowl, I suppose. Brandon Staley, 17, Nick Sirianni, 16. I think those two are interesting because I think there's a really good chance that those guys could, and again, like somebody has to replace them, but they have to replace somebody. I feel like those guys could take a step forward and at least be, if not top 10, top 12 after this year. Sirianni, I thought did a really good job adjusting. RJ White's pointed this out. It's like, if you're an Eagles fan, you should be happy that he figured out to all right, this pass happy stuff we're trying to run with Hurts isn't working. Like, let's pound the football. That's how they got to the playoffs. And, they added AJ Brown and now Devontae Smith in year 2, and then Dallas Goedert had great prorated stats. So maybe that's a little tricky in the sense that, will they be able to control themselves and actually run the ball? But I liked what I saw to Sirianni in year 1 for sure. And then Staley as well. I mean, he's hyper aggressive and all that, but it seems like he connects with his players, and I like the aggressiveness.
To me, the middle of the pack is an appropriate spot for them because they showed enough in year 1 that they don't belong in the Robert Saleh category. And part of that, I mean, Nick Sirianni depends on, I guess, who you ask, but I don't know that the Eagles last year had a tremendous roster. The Jets obviously had a worse roster, but still, with the talent they had, they both went 9-8. The Eagles made the playoffs. The Chargers didn't. But yeah, they are certainly candidates, I think, to move up. They feel to me like candidates to be in the Kevin Stefanski range of in those first couple of years establishing yourself as a playoff caliber head coach. And yeah, with Sirianni, I think just showing the humility to when you come in as an offensive guy, you take pride in being able to call plays, to run your offense, and to be able to halfway through your first year turn the keys over a little bit and say, actually, with Jalen Hurts, with this setup, we're not going to pass the ball a ton. Just to have the humility to do that, I think is important in a leader.
Yeah, I like where you got to at 15 and 16. I think I would have Kingsbury below those guys. I think I'd have Kingsbury at 17 and bump and that's actually, you know what? I would have Kingsbury at 19, I think.
I think last year he was in the 20s, I want to say. And my opinion hasn't wavered changed that much on him. It's just so hard to, so like if you said Cliff Kingsbury is the coach of the Eagles or the Chargers, like,
or how about the Washington football team? Who wins more games, Kingsbury or Ron Rivera? I'll take Rivera.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
Cowboys is an interesting one. Like Kingsbury could win some games with the Cowboys.
That's what I mean. It sounds kind of like intriguing, like Cliff Kingsbury in Dallas.
Kingsbury with Jerry Jones would be like just fanning himself constantly. Like, oh, Cliff just might. I'll tell you what, like Cliff's so handsome, like he got a little dimple in his chin.
But yeah, I think that that kind of hits on something though, just like this, kind of like with Kyle Shanahan. But there's like this idea hanging around, like the idea of Cliff Kingsbury becoming this like hot. Not like hot physically, but
we're not going off on the hot like that's
no. I just mean a hot offensive coach. Yeah,
you started on who's the hottest coaches in football.
Honestly, I mean, people would read. I mean, I don't want to be doing that, but people would read that.
I launched like Costas and I did I guest hosted his shows, the You Better You Bet show, like at one point this summer, and I was like, I mean, like obviously the NFC West is the hottest coaching division in football. He's like, what did you just say? I was like, well, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. Everybody knows that. It's McVay, Shanahan, Kingsbury, and the Silver Fox Pete Carroll. And he's like, and I was like, now, if you really want to talk about like uniquely attractive, and then like all of a sudden there's like 40 minutes later, and we'd ranked like 1 through 32, like the hottest coaches, which again, we are not going to do.
Nope. We already spent enough time on other topics.
Yeah. But yeah, like I would move Cliff down. Like I just don't like, they came out hot and started with the last undefeated team. The second half swoons, and it dates back to Texas Tech. Just big time red flags for me. But look, I mean, they were a playoff team last year, and then they got their doors blown off by the Rams.
I don't think they're going to be, and they have a tough schedule this year too.
Yeah, if Trey Lance is legit, then the Cardinals are in a doggy for a playoff spot, probably. I would also I don't think that Zach Taylor is a great coach, but I'm not really sure.
He was also very extremely hard, because coming off, you lead this team to the Super Bowl. Everyone in Cincinnati happily will, keep buying him beers and all that. So it feels like you can't put him too far down, but yet, I mean, you just look at the record he had before Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and it's not his fault that he inherited them and then won with them. But I think the best thing Zach Taylor has going for him in these rankings and moving forward is just that, as long as Joe Burrow stays healthy, as long as Joe Burrow stays on schedule, he's going to rise up unless his play calling, like Mike McCarthy, or in-game decisions are so glaringly obvious that the talent around him doesn't mask his own.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine the Bengals offense not being great. And Zach Taylor's going to get credit for that as a result. I do like the fact that Stefanski and Frank Reich are ahead of those guys, though, because, people get miffed at Frank Reich for I guess the Carson Wentz. So he missed the playoffs. His job was definitely, if they kept Carson Wentz around and they missed the playoffs again, he's probably getting fired because Jim Irsay really doesn't like Carson Wentz. But I think Reich is just so solid as a coach. And actually, who was I talking to? Oh yeah, this is super, super random. I think this is after the Pauly Shore stand-up comedy show.
Your brain's shorting out or something.
It is shorting out. I'm trying to remember exactly. The person I was talking to was it was definitely, it was a girl at the bar after the Pauly Shore. There's a downstairs bar at the concert. She was with they were going to the show. We were
Urban Meyer. Okay.
No, hey. No. We came out of the show and went downstairs to get a post-show drink at the bar. And then the people who you can also have a drink at the bar and go up to the show because he was doing 2 shows. Anyway, I crossed paths with a girl who was sitting there, and somehow I don't know how the hell this happened, but she basically knew she's was good friends with Frank Reich's daughter or something like that, and was just just the way that she described him. I think he's the short version of this, Cody, is that
Are you trying to like flaunt your popularity, like just waltzing into bars and
no, they weren't like, oh, hey, Will Brinson. No. It's just like
Can I get a picture with you?
It does happen. Okay, the point being is that like, and I relayed the fact that, you know, immediately following the Eagles Super Bowl victory over the Patriots, I went down the locker room and, you know, everybody's talking to Foles and everybody's talking to Doug. And I was able to like sort of sidle up by Frank Reich and just listen to him talk. And I just remember being like I didn't, you know, I mean, I watched this guy play a bunch and, you know, I obviously, you know, been impressed with his play call, you know, his work as a coach, but I know, like when you listen to him talk, it's like, he just really commands the room and has this like, and the point of the story about the bar is that I think he is like just a really genuine person.
Yeah.
And I think that comes across to his players and like they buy into it because he is genuine. There's no like, you know, there's no like false bravado about Frank Reich at all.
You mentioned Nick Foles, and I honestly feel like they are similar characters in terms of like they are just very even keeled, like smooth in the way that they connect with people. Like it's not forced, like you said, it's not. So he, in a sense, he's almost been the perfect coach for the Colts of the last few years, who have done this quarterback dance that few coaches would be able to manage so well. Right. And obviously, like there's still things he has to get better at. Like there's some conservative tendencies. They have to get over the hump, but like they have almost done stuff in each of his seasons. Like Andrew Luck almost stuck around as his quarterback. Phillip Rivers almost led a playoff run. Carson Wentz almost got to the playoffs. Like, and it's been a constant revolving door there. And yet his steadiness there has been.
It's a great point though. Like he is able to, and he obviously worked with Carson Wentz before, and he'd worked with Phillip Rivers too in San Diego as his quarterbacks coach back in the day. Maybe OC as well. I can't remember, but point being is like he has been able to work with multiple quarterbacks of various ages and various skill sets, and it has been successful like to a large enough degree that like I think he deserves where he is. And then Kevin Stefanski, you know, look, big challenge coming this year. Certainly a disappointing season last year, but I think that he has shown that he is analytically sound and a smart decision maker and very calm in the moment, and just seems like he sort of gets it. And you know, he's sort of timed his departure. Like he's very sort of, I think it felt like in a new desk. I felt like he was very careful about his selection of the job, and even though he picked Cleveland for some freaking reason, I'm fine with Stefanski there. All right, so to the top 11. You're a Spinal Tap fan? You're a big movie guy. You like Spinal Tap?
What's that?
Do you know this is Spinal Tap?
Yes, but this is Spinal Tap?
That's technically the name of it, I think.
I honestly haven't seen that, but yeah.
Well, you know they're coming out. Oh, you haven't seen the first one. You don't know they're coming out.
I haven't. Yeah.
It's a mockumentary. It's like put Rob Ryder on the map. But it's about a band, and the joke is like they're like looking, they're like, wait, why do your amplifiers like go from 1 to 11? They're like, these go to 11, and they're like, why 11? It's like, because 11 is louder than 10. It's like, but it's still like, yeah. So these go to 11. I thought
they do.
Yeah. Now, knowing now that you haven't seen Spinal Tap,
it's a good reference though. It fits extremely well.
My guess is that you chose instead to finagle a certain coach from Jackson.
It honestly was not intentional.
Into the top 11. It's my guess.
So when I'm doing the tiers, I had to kind of break them off in a certain way. And I think Doug Peterson could very easily be thrust back into the guys category, because to me, he was much more of a guy in his last few seasons with the Eagles. But in this category, I tried to put it as more proven commodities. And so if they haven't won a title, they seem like it's only a matter of time until they do. And Doug is one of those who he obviously has won the title. And so
Mike McCarthy being the exception, and like no one's going to
yes.
That. I mean,
yeah. And I mean, you could, I guess, argue, but I still think you've probably seen a little more from Doug during his time as, you know, his last 5 years as a head coach than you have with Mike McCarthy.
If you put Mike McCarthy in the top 11, people would riot. I mean, Doug, I keep calling him Doug now. Damn it. Outside of the 4-11 in 1 year, you know, he hadn't, I mean, They went 7-9 his first season, 13-3. They win the title, 9-7, 9-7, and like they dealt with a bunch of injuries. And Carson had the the head thing where he couldn't play football anymore because he broke his brain because of Nick Foles. But yeah, like I don't have a problem with Doug Peterson at 11. I really think that Doug, because who doesn't like calling him Doug? It's a shame. It's a shame that Debo's not here for this. Not that you have to hear me say Doug over and over again. But it is. I think there's a chance that Doug Peterson ends up. I just said Doug like 12 times. Where you're going? I think there's a chance that Doug Peterson ends up justifying this position, not necessarily because the Jaguars are going to win like 10 games or anything, or even 7 games, but because Trevor Lawrence is going to play football at a level commensurate with his talent, as opposed to last year when he had the worst coach in the history of professional football, Urban Meyer, running things into the ground in Jacksonville. And like just being not Urban Meyer is going to justify Doug Peterson's position here at 11, I think.
Yeah, I still don't love the way they allocated their resources this offseason. That's maybe not all on Doug, but they are better. And yeah, that's what you're like, if there's just competence from leadership there, and it's all the indications from Trevor Lawrence are that's the case. And I think it's crazy to remember, like it was only a year ago that Trevor Lawrence went number 1 overall as one of the safest, like highly touted quarterback prospects
since Andrew Luck.
Yeah, since Andrew Luck.
It's Elway, Peyton, Luck, and Trevor Lawrence are the 4 guys, like the 4 can't miss prospects. And
forgettable rookie season, but all the tools are there. And I think that on and off the field, Trevor Lawrence is much more comfortable right now with Doug Peterson. And yeah, I don't know how many wins that's going to translate to, but like you said, I mean, if you can just like keep the ship floating in Jacksonville, that's what he was brought there to do, bring stability to the entire organization.
So no, I'm an idiot. That's not true. Mike Vrabel at 10, Kyle Shanahan at 9, Pete Carroll at 8. Pete Carroll obviously has I think this is a good example of if you took, I mean,
some of these are tough here.
Well, I think putting Pete Carroll at 8 over those 2 guys, like I'm taking Kyle Shanahan over Pete Carroll 100 times out of 100. However, Pete Carroll does have a Super Bowl. He doesn't have many losing seasons. Kyle Shanahan has been to 1 Super Bowl and has been close to a second one. But I think that the Super Bowl, is a trump card. And then Vrabel has just been so steady. I like him at 10. I think he's a much better in-game coach than people give him credit for. Like people are like, oh, he's just a meathead who doesn't know. He's like, dude, he outfoxed Belichick with Belichick's own trick, a few years back. And the Titans are just always right there. His players love him. He'd definitely be, I think Vrabel is easily number 1 if we did a steel cage death match coach rankings.
Trying to think. So yeah, there's not many others that are like,
I mean, Vrabel is massive, dude.
Right. I mean, the guy he was a physical player.
Maybe Robert Saleh or Dan Campbell.
Ooh. Now that would be good. Dan Campbell and Mike Vrabel. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who the other number one seed would be along with.
What about like a race? Like a sprint? Like is Cliff just he just looks athletic, or is he
Cliff ain't running anywhere. Cliff's jogging. All right. Anyway.
All right. I would say though that this top the top
Tomlin's
10.
Tomlin's probably Stu in the chat. Tomlin's probably our 4th number 1 seed there. So Tomlin, Vrabel
in the cage match.
I think so.
Possibly, yeah.
Tomlin, Vrabel, Dan Campbell, and Robert Saleh, I think, are our 4 number 1 seeds for the cage match.
Yeah. I'm imagining like Bill Belichick, like
I wouldn't want to. Yeah, Belichick's like a high 2 seed.
Well, I feel like he'd come in and he'd have already like rigged the cage with like
a knife.
Like he's just standing, right? Like he's just standing there in the corner with his. Just walks off like just emotionless exit. No, with these guys, I mean, with the exception of like, so we'll get to the very top, but like most of these, I think it's like pick your preference here as far as like I'm not like. The idea of Pete Carroll being my head coach in 2022 isn't all that exciting, but it's like you can't like last season was his
success.
Yeah, last season was his first losing season in 10 years. Obviously, he's dealing with the post-Russell Wilson quarterback situation now, so might not get better. But you can't – I mean, it's such an established resume that is just starting to go down that you can't – like, he still connects with the locker room and all that, so.
If they win 5 games or something like that, he's drifting towards –
Yeah, I think he has to. Yeah,
for sure. Shanahan, obviously, I think some people love him. Some people, I love him. So, a lot of people.
Well, he's very up and down. I mean, it's either you're in the NFC Championship or you're out of the playoffs.
Matt LaFleur has not been up and down. Wins 13 games every friggin' year. I mean, I think when he got hired, I definitely attributed a lot of it to Aaron Rodgers, and that is true. But he's navigated a lot of drama and done a really good job. Like Rodgers starting to retire, maybe wanted to trade. Now the Devontae Adams trade, he has done a good job making sure that he stays on his quarterback's good side, siding with the QB, continuing to win games, continuing to run a great offense. And yeah, they've fallen short in the playoffs, but I don't put a ton of that on LaFleur. Obviously the fourth down attempt in the championship game, the game against Tampa 2 years ago, whatever it was. You can put that on, but for the most part, I feel like he is a very, very good coach.
Yeah, and you can't dismiss even if it's just personality management with your quarterback. That's part of being a head coach. You are there to be the CEO, and so yes, he has Aaron Rodgers. So did Mike McCarthy, who went 11-16-1 in his final 2 seasons with the Packers. And I think this year will be a very good barometer where they might lean more on his, the run game that he kind of helped build in, coming out of Tennessee with Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, now that Devontae Adams is gone. So it'll be a good test, I think, this year.
I really want them to use Aaron Jones line up outside, and if they don't, my fantasy chances are
like a little slot receiver.
Yeah, exactly. Line him up, move them all around. Yeah. Top 6 guy. Actually, Sean McDermott is the only guy remaining without a Super Bowl ring, which checks out. He's a very good coach. I think one of the best coaches, maybe one of the most underrated coaches in football. And he and Brandon Beane, that's another factor too. Do you work well with your GM? Do you have the same vision in place? And they do. They came from Carolina. They knew they wanted to work with each other. They've developed a roster that's one of the best in football. They, I think kind of underrated. The Bills, we talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago, but the Bills traded out of the slot with the Chiefs where Patrick Mahomes was taken. And no one gives them crap for giving up the pick where Mahomes went, because the very next year they went and got Josh Allen, and they came away with, Tre'Davious White as well. So I mean, that could in theory, that could have really backfired on him. I think McDermott, aside from the sort of meltdown he had last year when Belichick went Navy on him, and it sort of lasted for, the Patriots are in his head a little bit, but I think by and large, this guy is and the 13-second thing is obviously a problem too. But this guy is by and large a really, really good head coach and manages games well and coaches defense really well. And I'll be interested to see how they do with Brian Daboll leaving, but I think I have an inclination that they'll probably be fine.
He seems just he does everything well, very steady-handed. He feels like he has the makings of the next. Maybe this is going too far, but Andy Reid. I mean, he came from the Andy Reid.
All right,
tree.
I forget you. I feel like people forget this. He replaced Jim Johnson, the legendary Jim Johnson,
and they didn't give him a super long leash as the defensive coordinator there.
And they fired him, and then Juan Castillo took over for the Dream Team.
Yes,
and things went south. And then
yeah.
I mean, so
but he just the way he's built his staff. I mean, there's just good staffers. I mean, with Brian Daboll leaving, that will be that needs to be, I guess, proven yet. But Leslie Frazier, just the way he seems to just do everything very even keeled. He helped develop the quarterback even from the other side of the ball. So yeah, I think he's done a good job shepherding the roster that they've had.
They run a very Ron Rivera, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick style program where it's you don't have a bunch of people yapping and
right.
It's very,
but not in a
boring way. It's just they're professional about it. He's very professional.
Yeah.
Even Ryan Wilson, who went to William and Mary with him, is hey, Sean, William and Mary. He's it's good to see you. It's oh, good.
Right.
All right, our top 5 all Super Bowl winners. Let's just because we're running long. I don't want to, and I'm not saying we're not talking about Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh at all, but they are so perfectly yin and yang where, you know, occasionally their fan bases get mad at him. And
Yes.
Harbaugh in that second where he was in the hot seat, and then Lamar came in and they've won since then. Tomlin obviously never had a losing season. They battle each other all the time. Very well respected guys. Each guy has Tomlin has one Super Bowl, right? Yeah.
Yep, he's 1-1.
Cowher and one with Tomlin. Been to 2 Super Bowls. Hasn't been deep in the playoffs in quite some time.
Steelers are 3-7 in the playoffs since losing the Super Bowl in 2010.
It's not great.
But when you're always there, when the floor is so high,
yeah,
for that long, that's why you're giving him credit there.
This is a really interesting year for Tomlin, I think, in particular, just because of the quarterback situation and the transition with the GM. Omar Khan, you know, been there forever, but like the transition with like the quarterback and Big Ben's gone, and like what does this look like moving forward? And then, you know, Harbaugh, I think, is just, you know, maybe it's a big year for Harbaugh too, with Lamar's contract being up, but I anticipate he'll be around for a while. The top 3 is more interesting to me because you have done, I don't want to say it's the unthinkable, because I think it's a lot more thinkable now than it would have been 2 years ago, certainly.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, the 3rd overall ranked coach. Are you worried that he's going to shiv you in the steel cage at some point because you ranked him 3rd?
If I were in the steel cage with him, maybe, but I'm not. I thought you were going to say, am I worried he's going to prove me wrong this year, which I'm not.
Belichick like creeped into your picture right now?
I mean, I think this podcast would win the award that you're looking for.
We would definitely go viral if that happened. I mean, you would get shit, obviously, and
I'd be a sacrifice of the altar.
Spending his off-season like vacation in, you know, a suburb of Minneapolis, shivving NFL writers who ranked him 3rd overall.
We'd become the talk of the town. I would say
you'd be bleeding out your forehead.
I'd be dead. Yeah, I'd be gone.
we didn't call 911 after we uploaded it to YouTube. Don't worry.
Well, look, I think I'm not. Here's the thing: I'm not extremely worried about Bill Belichick proving me wrong this year on this list. I acknowledged in the story that, like, I mean, we're not debating if he's ranked at the top based on all-time achievements. I mean, every time you reread him, it's crazy. Like the fact that you actually have to write he's 6-3 in Super Bowls when some of these guys have been to none, or 31-13 in the playoffs. Like it's absurd. We acknowledge all of that. I just think that, like, as much as
who's more likely to win 12 games, the Rams? Or like who's the least likely team to win 12 games? The Patriots, Rams, and obviously like
it's yes, and part of that, but you can't just dismiss his setup because he is also the general manager there. He is in charge of all of that, and so I think it's still true that you can't replicate the Bill Belichick like preparation, the resume, all of that. But to suggest, I think what I'm suggesting is that his formula for winning or whatever isn't ideal for this moment in the NFL. Which, you know, it's star quarterbacks, it's speed, it's big plays, and again, they're going to be competitive. They're going to play spoiler in some games. They might beat the Bills again. But I'm just, as much as I respect Bill Belichick all time, I don't think he's the best guy to draft as your coach in 2022.
I think it's, look, I just did a lot of stammering. I don't think it's like, I don't want to say it's not a bold take because it is a bold take. Like it is bold as hell to be like, I'm not ranking Belichick first. I mean, that's like, I think 90%, maybe 80% at this point of people who did this list would rank Belichick first out of, you know, respect, out of the, you know, out of the fact that Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. And like, that's obviously true, but I do think you did the right thing here. You bump them down a little bit. Like they haven't been as good since Tom Brady left.
Yeah. And granted, he got Mac Jones, the rookie quarterback, to the playoffs, but similar to like in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts, like you're still wondering like, okay, but what is the ceiling here? Are we just kind of dancing with, even if it's a young quarterback, like, are we just going to run the ball and play and rely on defense? These old school kind of, approaches. So yeah, I still think, I don't know where the Patriots ceiling is when it used to be with Tom Brady, like, that floor was
Patriots floor is.
Yeah, the floor and ceiling was so close with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick together.
Right. The ceiling's the Super Bowl and the floor is like 12 wins and the division title.
Yep.
Now it's like,
yeah.
I mean,
I'm not like, Devontae Parker, like, I'm not overly like, if one of those guys goes down or the running game doesn't work.
He just traded N'Keal Harry to the Bears. Like he drafted N'Keal Harry over Deebo Samuel, this guy named JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Not sure if you heard of him. Unnecessary. I'm sorry. AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. Like, that was Belichick. I mean, and that's part of the reason they don't have a great wide receiver core is because he made that decision himself. And he, it's just in the moment. I think, N'Keal Harry traded the Bears, obviously. All right, last two guys. Sean McVay 2, Andy Reid 1. I think Andy Reid is. I think that's a fair ranking. Was there any consideration to making McVay coming off the Super Bowl the number 1 overall head coach?
Not too much, honestly. I think it's more just the longevity of Andy Reid. Like, and again, with Belichick, we're giving him credit for the resume, but kind of bumping him down for recent results. I mean, with Andy Reid, it's just, again, he's not immune to those in-game mistakes still this far into his career. Like, he's 25 years into the job. You're still having people point out the clock miscues or whatever. But, as long as it's kind of the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick effect here. As long as he and Patrick Mahomes are there, it just feels foolish to count them out of a 12-13 win season, a home playoff game. And that's like, if you're getting that every year, that's all.
The Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid floor is losing in the conference championship.
That's the thing. Like you cannot ask for much more than that. And so, until his team stopped doing that. And again, last year it was, they start slow still in the season and in games. That needs to be corrected. And there's some challenges offensively trying to make this work now without the huge deep threat. And maybe Valdez-Scantling will be it. But I still think, the longevity there combined with that consistency is what put Andy Reid up top.
I'm okay with that. Well, I want to point out that Sean McVay is an absurd 55-26. So he's 11-5, 13-3, 9-7, 10-6, 12-5, and he's been to the Super Bowl twice and won it once. There was
go ahead.
No, I was saying there's a point in time when people were like, "Ooh, did everybody remember when the Jared Goff, the offense started to stall and they realized they needed to move on from Goff, and it was like, ooh, did Sean McVay get figured out?" As it turns out, no. Now he's added Matthew Stafford to his arsenal, and I know people won't be picking the Rams to repeat, and that's okay. But I sort of think Stafford could just have. I mean, he did that in a single offseason. Like, he could take a leap forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for the people that might say, well, he's just been gifted like star-studded lineups because the Rams don't care about draft picks, I would say, like, look at what he's done with some of those starters specifically. So you think about Stafford, Jared Goff, I think of even Odell Beckham Jr., the way they utilized him. Like, he's not just getting these pieces and then failing to use them properly. He is actually capitalizing on the talent that's on the roster. He's more conservative than most people think. He can be a streaky play caller, but I think, the record speaks for itself. The only reason I put in the story that you wouldn't draft him as your short or long-term leader is because he's risen so fast that he has the flexibility to walk away from the game early.
TV, right? Yeah, he's 36.
Yep,
he's 5 years younger than me. That is so depressing.
No, look at the mansion you're sitting in.
Yeah. You see McVay's mansion? I'm looking out on rural Boone. He's like up on top of LA with his supermodel, I guess.
Listen,
wife
you got a family, you've got friends, you got.
Hey, I'm
go out to the bar, you meet Frank Reich's kid, relatives.
That's right. Real, yeah. Occasionally snap pictures with people who really like NC State football and beer and podcast.
Do you ever at birthday parties, do moms and dads of kids' friends, do they come up? Do they I guess they all know you already, but
you know what? I mean, sometimes
a Chuck E. Cheese and somebody's
sometimes at NC State games, people will come. I'm not trying to humble brag, but my buddy Dave and I were at a game last year, and we were getting beers, and somebody's like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hey," he's like. Dave was like, "What? No," because I went to college with Dave, and he's like, "This kid, no, this is unacceptable. This cannot be real life. This needs to end right now. What the hell?"
See, you got a little bit of celebrity in you.
Yeah, C-.
Just stay humble.
No, that's not happening. Stay humble, stay hungry. That's not really my thing. I sort of faux humility is really more my thing, Cody. All right.
At least to admit it.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna get out of here in exactly right at an hour, which is pretty good because we ranked all 32 head coaches. As always, buddy, it was a pleasure talking to you. Great job on the article. Make sure to check it out on cbssports.com. Follow him on at Cody Benjamin.
Cody J.
Cody J. Benjamin. I knew that.
Yeah.
For Cody, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys later.